Erdogan and Iran, Iran's still going through their issues. Israel's still doing what they're doing. Erdogan comes out and says Israel will be stopped sooner or later. Okay, Adam, I'm going to come to you for this one because Tom's message is very heavy, but I'm going to come to you first. So, Turkish President Erdogan condemned Israel's actions on Lebanon, stating whatever it does, Israel will be stopped sooner or later. He urged international organizations, particularly the UN, to act immediately, saying all state and international organizations, especially the UN, must stop Israel without wasting any more time. Erdogan warned that Israel's terror and genocide in Gaza had now reached Lebanon and expressed concerns that Israel could eventually target Turkey. He directly compared Israel Prime Minister to Hitler, declaring just as Hitler was stopped, Netanyahu will be stopped in the same way. Turkey Foreign Minister announced contingency plan to evacuate its 14,000 citizens from Lebanon due to the worsening security situation. Adam.
So what's the famous phrase? Accuse the other side of exactly what you're doing. I feel like what's going on in the Middle East right now is as this all starting to play out, is that it's this sort of 1984 Orwellian revisionist version of history, where you ever see a guy, a guy say, "Hey, give me your freaking lunch money."
Yeah,
and you're like, "No, what do you mean? Give me your freaking lunch money, dude." No, like I'm good. Give me your lunch, like a bully. And all of a sudden, give me your lunch money right now, or I'm gonna kick your ass. And all of a sudden, the guy goes, "Okay, I guess." And then the guy who was trying to take the guy's lunch money gets the living shit kicked out of him because he messed with the wrong guy.
Yeah.
That's what's basically happening here, is because whether it's Turkey, what have they done in the past? Bullying the Armenians and Assyrians, genocide. Let's not even talk about that, brush that away. But everything that's going on in the Middle East right now is just the epitome of gaslighting. It's, by the way, Iran is the bigger story here. Iran and its sort of terror proxies around the world. You know what they're doing right now? Losing. Hamas is dismantled. Hezbollah, in a matter of weeks, the entire leadership, boom. Like PBD, who's your favorite sports team in the world right now?
Yankees.
Okay, so the Yankees.
Duh.
So imagine they go, and it's a playoff game. It's October right now. And they go, and instead of Aaron Judge and all their best players take the field, it's all the replacements. How do you think the Yankees are going to do? Hezbollah and their entire terror regime has been dismantled. And then we're also learning something about Iran. They ain't shit. What do I mean? You know what Iran is the best at, more than anything? Suppressing their own people and subjugating their own people. You know what they're also very awesome at? Funding terror proxies around the world. You know what they're not very good at? Fighting. They just sent hundreds of missiles into Israel. Think about that. Imagine if Mexico sent hundreds of missiles into America. What would America do to Mexico? But we don't have to have that conversation because we're not living next to terror regimes. But Iran sends hundreds of missiles into Israel, okay? And they have one person who dies. And it's randomly an Arab guy who a rocket literally falls on his head. Have you seen this clip?
Yeah,
it's insane. So what I would argue is this. I'm sort of at a position right now where this is the closest we've seen to the end of this Iranian terror regime. Because if you're Israel right now, you now have a pass to say, you know what? Let's go after their oil refineries. Let's go after their nuclear capabilities. Now's the time. Because here's what I've learned about Israel. Whether they go too hard, they're going to be blamed for genocide. Whether they go too soft, they're going to be blamed. So all these terms, these buzzwords, these fake news terms like it's genocide, it's apartheid, it's terrorism, Erdogan called it Israeli expansionism. Have you seen a map of the Middle East compared to what Israel is? All these terms, is colonization and occupation. The only thing that's been occupied are all these great Muslim Arab countries that have been hijacked by terror regimes. Hamas in Gaza, Hezbollah in Lebanon, and the number one terror regime in the world is the Islamic Republic of Iran that has terrorized the Iranian people. And the bottom line is the Iranian people, if you ever see comments on any post on social media, the Iranian people are with the people fighting against the terror regime in Iran, against the Ayatollahs. That's how you know they're losing.
Tom.
Well, I think Erdogan just
became a complete wimp in this. Israel will be stopped sooner or later. Sooner or later. It's like a bad mom in a grocery store aisle. It says, Jeremy, sooner or later, I am so upset with you, and the kid's having a tantrum and the mom can't control him. He says, sooner or later, when we get home, your dad's gonna, and that's what he sounds like here. When have you seen Turkey saying, we'll get the UN, I'm calling on the UN to act immediately and stop these guys? This is ridiculous. Erdogan, he's got nothing to say here because first of all, he is the largest military out there, right? And he's got a lot of might that he could unleash, but we have two leashes. We have a leash a little bit on Israel, and we have a leash a little bit on Turkey. And we're not going to let these two guys go at it. So to save face with his, Arab and Muslim, colleagues, he has to come out and say something. But he comes out and says, we're going to get the UN to write you a letter that says you're in trouble, dude.
By the way, that is a very weak position.
It's terrible.
Why would you come from there? I was so confused when I'm reading this saying, how could he come from a position like that? Vinny, what do you think about the story?
I think he's on a leash.
I don't know, Pat. I think, well, first of all, those missiles being, launched, I mean, Adam just made it pretty damn clear. These people launch all these missiles. Nothing hits, nothing killed. The only person that was killed was a Palestinian dude where like a debris of a missile hit him in the head.
Did you see? No, not the debris. There was a missile that fell on the guy's head.
It was a big piece of a missile. Yeah, it's pretty
crazy.
Big. It was pretty bad. But, I still feel bad that the guys, he wasn't a terrorist, right? He's just walking around and the thing hit him in the head.
Look at this. Here's the video.
Yeah, look. Have you seen this?
Just walking
that guy's
around.
just chilling, and then this thing just... Oh, yeah. Oh, no.
I don't want them to show up, but I'll show you guys just because I don't know what the rules are for YouTube.
Yeah, so this guy's chilling on a corner.
Hey guys, just here in Israel, just hanging out, and all of a sudden, boom! Oh
that's a piece of a missile.
That's a
kidding
me?
Piece of a missile.
I hope we didn't show that.
No, we didn't. No, we didn't show that. So I mean, people at home could watch it. My only.
That's the only person that died after hundreds of missiles from Iran were shot into Israel.
Shout out to the Iron Dome. But my only two things, Pat, and I've said this before, is our troops getting involved in a war. I don't want no Americans to die. And number two, the scariest part are, all that's happening over there, right? We have that we know of, 350 people on the terror watch list in this country. What pisses me off is those guys, especially that guy, that terrorist that was like, soon you will know who I am. Soon you'll know my name. This is happening there. They can't touch Israel. So guess what they can touch? The United States, who are allies with Israel. That's the scary part that I think people need to worry about. And you know what?
Wait, Turkey?
No.
Narrow it down.
No,
You're talking about Erdogan?
Turkey? No, I'm talking about Israel. We support Israel, so we're basically allies with Israel. Israel's fighting a war.
You said he can touch USA. You were saying
that guy, like a terrorist. The terrorist.
He who?
The terrorist. The guy.
Inspired by Erdogan?
Him.
No, Tom. I don't know where you. I'm talking about.
I'm trying to follow what you're saying.
I'm trying to say
the guy that crossed the border.
The guy that crossed the border that said, soon you will know who I am. And the countless other, we're saying we know that there's 350. I think there's way more people on the terror watch list that we just let into the border that they're seeing this war happen. And guess what? They're anti-American and they're going to do something to America to hurt us here because they know that they can't touch Israel.
Can I ask you a question, Pat?
That's my point.
Okay. Because we're talking about the Middle East. Let's hone in on Turkey right here. Now, Turkey is a part of NATO. They're an ally. They're also are they part of BRICS now? Or I don't know what. I can't put my finger on what's going on here. Are they half European? Are they half Middle Eastern? Like they sort of have this bipolar thing going on. But PBD, they also have a strong military. They have a decent economy. What's your take on what's going on in Turkey? And then to a larger context, what's Turkey's relationship with Iran at this point?
Well, let me just show this here. Okay, Rob, it's going to be tough to find it, but if you can find it, I typed in to get data on military versus military. Okay, so Turkey has got the #1 military in the Middle East. This is an article I found here. Yahoo wrote this article that goes back to Turkey has 2,231 tanks, 355,000 people, aircraft fleet, submarines. They're strong. Number 2 is Israel in the Middle East, okay? But they're not #1. They're #2. For Erdogan to say, the language, like, it's such a, I'm actually kind of surprised by this position to say, He directly compared Israel Prime Minister Netanyahu to a different, so he stopped. Netanyahu will stop in the same way. And then he says, terror and genocide in Gaza reached Lebanon, expressed concern that Israel could eventually target Turkey.
Yeah.
What do you mean Israel could eventually target Turkey? You're number one, okay? And by the way, the reason why Israel still hasn't announced that Armenian genocide, Assyrian genocide happened is because they want a decent relationship with Turkey. They don't want to have issues with Turkey. So that's why they don't recognize that the genocide took place many, many years ago. So now you want to say this? By the way, Netanyahu, this is a perfect time to come out and recognize that the Armenian genocide took place. This is a great time for Israel to come out and recognize that and say, hey, this event did take place. Because what he's saying about you guys, what he's saying about you, like that is a perfect timing on a position to take with this. But here's the other question that I have. Sometimes if you're not too careful, let's just say we're at a bar, okay? And, Rob gets into a fight with a guy. And it's against a guy that we can't stand. You can't stand this guy. And you want Rob to beat up that guy because that guy holds the entire bar hostage. The girls are shaking. They're nervous. It's not a good place. So, I want to see Rob kick his ass. And then Rob decides to leave the bar. Okay? Now, Adam shows up.
Typical Rob.
Hang on. Rob decides to leave the bar. He says, no, I'm not going to finish the job because I got to go to work. Adam shows up. You hate Adam. You're not a fan of Adam. But Adam is capable of beating that guy at the bar and saving those people at the bar from being held hostage. Do you understand where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
Now you're kind of like, well, no, F Adam. And leave those free people alone. No. It's kind of like when America was about to cause Iran to fall because of all the criminals in Iran that run that country, the people that have made billions of dollars, the amount of wealth they've created. One of the families has $100 billion. Some say $200 billion of net worth because the money doesn't flow through them. It stays at the top. But the moment Israel's getting close to causing Iran to have a revolution and a potential, falling of an organization that's destroyed Iran since 1979 when the Shah fell. But now, no. Israel's a bad guy.
Yeah.
They can't take those guys out.
Yeah.
See, that's the part where for somebody that lived in Iran, if I'm at the bar and there's a bad guy that's making it terrible for everybody else, by the way, I can't even say it, but I'll be able to say it next week. I think I'll be able to say it. Yeah, I'll be able to say it next week. I can't say it. Rob, I can say it next week. I can't say it right now.
Sometime next week.
Sometime next week, I'll tell you guys. And anyways, if I can't go visit Iran today for many reasons, why is that? The last time I could go do it freely and not have to worry about anybody telling me don't go, the year started with 7. Why can't I go right now? What changed? Why are people so afraid? Why don't you go? It's a beautiful place. It's a beautiful history. It's got a rich history. You should go to Esfahan. You should see what's going on over there. Why not? So this is the part where I understand being incredible negotiators. I understand having people. I had McCarthy here yesterday, and we played a clip about Thomas Massey saying everybody has got a AIPAC guy because the interview with, with Tucker, right? I understand all of that stuff. But at the same time, do you believe the Iranian people are better for the empire to fall? That answer to the question, yes, no, you say it, okay? 2, second question will be, if Hezbollah and these people fall, do you care who does it? You understand the question I'm asking? Or are you so tied to a country, a community that you can't stand, that you don't want them to do it, you would rather have somebody else do it? Who cares who gets the mission done? It's like a father it's a father who wants, hey, son, you got to stop quitting smoking cigarettes. It's bad for you. Oh, Dad, be quiet. What do you know? And then you come and talk to him. And you say, hey, you got to quit smoking cigarettes. You think so? Yes, I'm going to quit tomorrow. And then my son goes on TV and says, I quit cigarettes because my Uncle Vinny came and told me to quit. As a father, I don't give a shit who gets the credit.
He quit.
So that is the confusion that we have right now, that we're falling for the mob kind of recruiting us, and it's unfair and all that. Of course it's unfair. It's unfair that missile accidentally fell on that guy. What was that all about? That's unfair. Life is sometimes unfair, some of the stuff that's happening. But if if Netanyahu, who is not a liked figure in Israel, he's at 32, 33, whatever the number is, if he gets the job done of Iran going through revolution, you can say whatever you want to say about the guy. In his legacy, he's going to be the guy that made Iran fall. If he pulls this off, just so you know, if he pulls this off, okay?
It's almost like a Churchill moment. Almost. So you brought up 1979 right now. So who was the president in 79? Jimmy Carter, who I think turned 100 finally. And then,
I think that's questionable, but go ahead.
And then Reagan steps in and famously made peace through strength a thing. So PBD, you have a thing that you do at PHP called Train the Trainers.
Yes.
There's also another thing that we should be recognizing in the world. It's called Bully the Bullies. There's bullies in the world. Now, the problem that I'm seeing is like the poking the bear, the bullying. Iran is a bully. They're bullying their neighbors. They want to spread their terrorist regime tentacles all over the Middle East. But what happens when you bully the bully and you stand up to bullies? The bully says, holy crap, we're actually losing here right now. And what's happening is the United States does a great job of bullying the bullies all around the world. Now, I don't want to get into foreign wars and get basically messed up in nonsense for years and years and years, but don't get it twisted. Israel is standing up to bullies. Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis, the Iranian regime, they're standing up to bullies. But people, let me ask you this, as a businessman who's a capitalist, put your mind in the Ayatollahs right now. It's a weird question. Full-on business question right now. You've just spent the last 40 years.
A turban on, like you're playing a joke.
Put it on.
Halloween's around the corner. It's a little bit inappropriate what you're doing, but go ahead. I'll play
You're
along.
gonna be okay.
Get a dish towel and Ray-Bans.
Oh my God.
You spent the last 40 years funding a project.
Okay.
You made a massive investment, billions of dollars.
Yes.
You pumped it into a group called Hezbollah.
Yeah.
You pumped it into a group called Hamas. And all of a sudden, your investment went down the tubes.
Yeah.
You've coined a thing, not ROI, return on investment. You've coined a thing called ITR.
Yes.
Investment, time, return.
Yes.
If you're the Ayatollahs and you've just spent billions of dollars funding these terror regimes and now they're decimated, how are you looking yourself and you're looking at your warlords at this point?
2 phone calls.
Yep.
You're making 2 phone calls. You know what your 2 phone calls are?
What?
To Putin and Xi. Those are your 2 phone calls right now. Hands down. What do you guys need? You want oil? Come on, come protect Esfahan.
Yeah.
Because Israel's about to go after Esfahan. And if you've never been to Esfahan is like it's Athens, history, Acropolis. In like at that levels. You ever been to Acropolis? What's Acropolis like when you go to it? You just feel it, right? When you're in Acropolis.
Greece.
Like, damn.
Yeah, I've seen it. Yeah.
You go to certain historic places where you're like, do you know what happened here? So Esfahan, if you type in Esfahan, the city,
good luck spelling
they're
that
going to go after Esfahan. Isfahan. I think it's
in Iran.
This is one of the most beautiful cities. Yeah, right there. This right here, the history of Esfahan. Look at that. The history of Esfahan, what they have, but it's an oil city, refineries. They could go after here. They could go after Abadan. The Khameneis have to call Xi and Putin and beg for support. So what do you need? And right now, those guys have the ability to negotiate a contract with Iran for oil for whatever they want because Iran desperately needs help because it's getting that close for their empire to fall. So trust me, they're having a phone call right now with Putin and Xi if they haven't already done it for the last 3
I don't
4,
disagree
5
with
days.
you. There's another perspective here. So number one, does China want to get actively involved in a war in the Middle East? They don't do that. But Russia does. We've seen what Russia's done in Syria. Forget about the millions dead in Syria, the millions dead in what's going on around the Middle East. Millions. Don't worry about that. Let's whip that under the rug. Forget about that. But here's actually a tricky conversation. You ready? What's the reason that Russia may not be able to give more missiles to Iran? It's because Russia's fighting a war in Ukraine. And there's actually some issues going on right now where Iran has already asked Russia, hey, we need more drones, you need more missiles. They're like, nah, we need them.
Yeah. I need the ones I'm making.
So it's almost like America is doing the proxy with Ukraine. And they're using Ukraine to say, listen, we don't want to fight this war, but if it takes us $100 billion or whatever it is to keep Russia at bay so they can't fund other regimes like Iran, it's the jockeying for position, the enemy of the enemy is my friend thing that's going on in the Middle East. Weird situation.
By the way, if it goes the way it's going right now, Israel's pushing what he's pushing right now. Netanyahu is doing the job of what Trump would have done for a year. The moment Trump gets in, if Trump and Netanyahu are doing what they're doing together, Iran's going to be done in the next 4 years.
Can you believe that, right?
No,
like it's possible. You're feeling it for the first time.
No, I'm at 60%. If Trump gets in and Netanyahu continues the way he is, Trump and Netanyahu collectively can dismantle Iran.
Do you think that would be good for the world?
There's no question. And by the way, when I mean dismantle, I don't mean dismantle the people. Let me tell you, I go and hang out with an Iranian family and see how they treat you, see how they feed you, see how they serve you. See, yesterday I had a conversation with an old executive, Goldman Sachs, won't mention his name. People know who he is. Him and I had an hour call together when I stepped away yesterday with the whole Ritz-Carlton training. I had a great call with him. And his father used to be a colonel under the Shah. And, I don't want to get, because then I'm going to give away that. Anyways, he was very connected. And we had this conversation about the culture of Iranians. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's such a beautiful thing, man. Such a beautiful thing when you sit down and you talk to them and what they've done and the impact, positive, the impact to the world. They're not the problem. The problem are the people that are using the money that's being given to them, that's not going through to be invested into their communities. And who's thinking about tourism of going into Iran right now?
Zero.
Who? And we should be thinking about it. I want to take my family to Iran. You want to go show them, all the histories from back in the days of what happened. This is the Persian Empire we're talking about, that we're missing out. Like, how as a kid, I never saw Michael Jordan play. Big regret. As a kid, I never saw Michael Jackson perform. I would have liked to have seen Michael Jackson perform. I don't know if you went to his concert. Tom, did you ever go to his concert?
Yeah, I was working for the Dodgers, and they had the Victory Tour. Remember that? And he was reunited with his brothers, and they were 7 nights in a row. And I actually worked it.
Yeah, that's sick.
It was amazing. It was amazing.
I've never experienced that. Right? I would have liked to experience that. The same is like if you have the resources and you're a traveling man, like. You don't take your kids to show them Athens. You don't take your kids to show Iran. You don't take your kids to show France. You don't take your kids to show certain parts of the world. They got to see it, right? So I want the world to have access to. So I don't think it's a bad idea for it to take place.
Bibi said to the Iranian people?
Yeah, I did.
I think that's very important because number one, you bring up a massive point real quick. Governments are not people and people are not the governments. The Persian people I meet, by the way, every person I meet from Iran, and hundreds, thousands, I meet them all the time. They never say I'm Iranian. They say I'm Persian. So why do you say that you're Persian? Because the glory and the history of the ancient Persia is a beautiful history.
Yeah.
Okay? Just like people from China are not the CCP, just like Brazilians are not Lula, there's just like Mexicans are not the new lady that just signed it, just like every American is not a Biden. Like the people are the people. But the ancient civilization of Persia in Iran is a beautiful culture, and they're hijacked by this guy, and something's got to change.
I got a big announcement to make. The property I'm on right now, we've been working on buying this property for the last 3 years. It's one of its last kind in America. Why? It's on 11 acres. It's got 2 hangars. It's on an airport. Upgrades of $7 million made here. That's going to be the new headquarters of Valuetainment, Menek, David Consulting, the podcast, the whole 9. And what we wanted to do, we want to find a way to celebrate this as a new headquarters with inviting you to an event on November 5th, which is election night. A lot of different things people will be talking about, business owners. What's going to happen if it goes this way? What's going to happen if it goes that way? So imagine 2,000 people being here. Let me show you around. Some of you will have a private meeting with me. That's the elite. That's going to be a few of you. Some will get a private tour of the entire office from us. There's a hangar in the back. So you come up here. Imagine there's going to be a couple major tents, 40 feet by 100 feet, where some of the people that are buying general tickets will be there. But over here inside the hangar is where the podcast will be held. This entire thing will be open like it is right now. Inside of it, myself, the PBD podcast crew, some of the super VIPs will be invited to go upstairs in a section that we have that's got a bar, a restaurant, food, kitchen. You're eating, you're watching it from all the way up there while we're doing the podcast down here in the hangar. So imagine in this room, there's 1,000 people, right? While we're going through this whole thing. Conversation, it's going to be from 6 p.m. is when it starts, all the way up to 2 o'clock in the morning. Who knows? Maybe we'll go 3, 4 o'clock in the morning because a lot of things that's going to be going on. And by the way, do you know why we're not cutting this? We're on an airport. These are planes. We have to hear because right here is the airport. And FYI, Messi plays right there at that stadium right behind us. There's 5 ticket tiers that you can purchase. Each one's got more things to offer. But even locally, there's general tickets to buy for just $75. Bring your wife, bring your husband, bring your family, bring your friends. There's one caveat after you buy the ticket. When you buy the ticket and you come on November 5th, you have to wear Future Looks Bright gear. I'm talking Future Looks Bright hat, a shirt, doesn't matter. You're gonna have to show I got some kind of Future Looks Bright gear because we want everybody here to spread the message and the energy of optimism around the world, back to their states, wherever you're going to be. So November 5th, click on the link above or below, get registered. And if you're watching this saying, well, Pat, I like to travel private. Can I bring my private jet here? 5 of you guys will be after you buy your ticket. Then you can ask us, and that's only available to the tickets at the highest level possible to bring your jet and park it here. So having said that, get your tickets, and I cannot wait to see you November 5th, 6 p.m. at our new headquarters in Fort Lauderdale. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye, bye-bye.
So if you like this clip and you want to watch another one, click right here. And if you want to watch the entire podcast, click right here.